Little John Goes to Nottingham Fair. Spring had gone, since the sheriff's fast in Sherwood, and summer also, and the mellow month of October had come. All the air was cool and fresh, the harvest was gathered home, the young birds were full-fledged, the hops were plucked, the apples were ripe. But fruit time had so smoothened things over that men no longer talked of the horned beasts that the sheriff wished to buy. He was still sore about the matter, and could not bear to hear Robin Hood's name spoken in his presence. With October had come to the time for holding the great fair, which was celebrated every 5 years at Nottingham town, to which folk came from far and near throughout the country. At such time archery was always the main sport of the day, for the Nottinghamshire yeomen were the best hand at the longbow in all merry England. But this year the sheriff hesitated a long time before he issued proclamations for the fair, fearing lest Robin Hood and his band might come to it. At first he had a great part of a mind not to proclaim the fair, but second thought told him that the men would laugh at him and say among themselves that he was afraid of Robin Hood, so he put that broad by. At least he fixed in his mind that he would offer such a price as they would not care to shoot for. At such times it had been the custom to offer a half-score of mark or a turn of ale. So this year he proclaimed that a prize of 2 fat steers should be given to the best bowman. And Robin Hood heard what had been proclaimed. He was vexed, and said, "No brewest this sheriff that he should offer such a price that none but shepherds hinders will care to shoot for. I would have loved nothing better than to have had another boat at merry Nottingham town, but if I should win the prize, not would it pleasure or profit me." Then up spoke Little John. "Nay, but hearken, good master," said he. "Only to-day will Studley, young David of Dorchester, and I were at the sight of the Blue Boar, and there were heard all news of this merry fair, and also that the sheriff hath offered this prize, and that we of Sherwood might not care to come to the fair. So, good master, if thou wilt, I would go and strive to win even this poor thing among the stout yeomen who will shoot at Nottingham town." "Nay, Little John," quoth Robin, "thou art a stout fellow, yet thou lackest the cunning that good Studley hath, and I would not have harm behalf thee for all Nottinghamshire. Nevertheless, if thou wilt go, taking some disguise, lest there be those there who may know thee." "So good be it, good master," quoth Little John. "Yet all the disguise that I wish is a good suit of scarlet instead of this Lincoln green. I will draw the crowl of my jacket about my head, so that it will hide my brown hair and beard, and then I trust no one will know me." "It is much against my will," said Robin Hood. "Nevertheless, if thou dost wish it get thee gone, but bear thyself seemingly, Little John, for thou art mine own right hand, and I could it not bear to have harm befell thee." So Little John clad himself all in scarlet and started off to the fair at Nottingham town. Right merry were these fair days at Nottingham, when the green before the great town gate was dotted with blues, standing in rows, with tents of merry-coloured canvas, hung about with streamers and garlands of flowers, and the folk came from all over the countryside, both gentle and common. In some booths there were dancing to the merry music, in other flowed ale and beer, and in others yet again sweet cakes and barley sugar were sold, and sport was going outside the booths also. There were minstrels sang ballads of the olden time, playing of second upon the harp, or where the vessels struggled with one another with the suavest ring, but the people gathered most of all around the racing platform, where stout fellows played at quarterstaff. So Little John came to the fair. All scarlet were his hose and jerkins, and scarlet was his cold cap, with a scarlet feather stuck in the side of it. Over his shoulder was slung a stout bow of heath, and across his back hung a quiver of gold-round arrows. Many turned to look after such a stout tall fellow, for his shoulders were broader by the palm's breadth than any of there were there, and he stood a head taller than all the other men. The lasses also looked at him askance, thinking they were never seen a lustier youth. First of all he went to the booth where stout ale was sold, and standing aloft of a bench, he called to all that were near to come and drink with him. "Hey, sweet lads," cried he, "who will drink ale with a stout yeoman? Come all, let us be merry, for the day is sweet and the ale is tingling. Come hither, good yeoman, and thou, for not a farthing shall one of you pay. Nay, turn hither, thou lusty beggar, and thou jolly tinker, for all shall be merry with me." Thus he shouted, and all crowded around, laughing while the brown ale flowed, and they called Little John a brave fellow, each swearing that he loved him as his own brother, for when one has entertainment with nothing to pay, one loves the man that gives it to one. Then he strolled to the platform, where they were at cuddle Pyle, for he loved a boat at quarterstaff as he loved meat and drink. And here befell an adventure that was sung in ballads throughout the mid-country for many's a day. One fellow there was that cracked crown of every one who threw cap into the ring. This was Eric o' Lincoln, of great renown, whose name had been sung in ballads throughout the countryside. When Little John reached the stand, he found none fighting, but only bold Eric walking up and down the platform, swinging his staff, shouting lustily, "Now who will come and strike a stroke for the lass he loved the best, with a good Lincolnshire yeoman? How now, lads, step up, or else the lasses' eyes are not bright hereabout, or the blood of Nottingham. Youth is sluggish and cold. Lincoln against Nottingham, say I, for no one hath put foot upon the broads this day, such as were of Lincoln called a cudgel player." At this one would nudge another with his elbow, saying, "Go thou, Ned," or "Go thou, Thomas," but no lad cared to gain a cracked crown for nothing. Presently Eric saw where Little John stood among the others, and head and shoulders above them all, and he called to him loudly, "Holla, thou low-ledged fellow in scarlet! Broad are thy shoulders and thick thy head. Is not thy lass fair enough for thee to take cudgel in hand for her sake? I trust I believe that Nottingham men do turn to be bone and sings, for neither heart nor courage have they. Now, thou great lout, wilt thou not twice staff for Nottingham?"